In the film 2016, I advanced what seemed to be a kind of outlandish theory about Obama, that Obama had imbibed the anti-colonial philosophy of his dad, Barack Obama Sr. And this anti-colonialism shapes Obama's worldview and helps us to predict what Obama is going to do. It not only explains what he is doing, but it allows us to foretell and anticipate things that he's going to do. In the film, we made some fairly specific predictions about Obama, and this is not a bad time to review those predictions and see if they have in fact come true.
All right, folks, that, of course, the voice of the one and only Dinesh D'Souza. He was the man who put together documentary 2016, Obama's America, the second highest grossing political documentary in American history. And Dinesh joins us right now. Hello, sir.
Hey, it's good to be on the show.
I got to tell you, it's great to have you. You know, we had Gerald Mullen on last week, and he made some news by what he said. First of all, I just want you to know that that you have the support of so many people who believe that there is a political motive to what you're going through right now. I don't know how much you could say or how much you want to say, but the indictment against you, and I believe the way that you were handcuffed and the amount of bail, $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, for something that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is usually treated as a misdemeanor, correct?
Well, there was a case involving a guy who gave substantially more money to the John Edwards campaign, and he was charged with a misdemeanor, even though he had done it before. This was not a first offense, and even though he had something to gain. In other words, there was in that case, there was a kind of a quid pro quo. Many times people who give to campaigns are trying to get something out of it. So none of these factors are even relevant in my case. Look, I can't really discuss the case, but I will say I really appreciate the outpouring of support, and I also want people to know that it's in no way going to inhibit or deter my work. I've got a big film coming out this year.
America.
Coming out for the 4th of July. It's just called America.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's going to pick up the argument from 2016. It's not about Obama. It's about something much bigger than Obama, which is our country. But it's about some of the divisions in our country and the forces that are building America up, but also the forces that are pulling us down.
I just want to ask you one more question about it, and if you can't answer or don't want to answer, I understand, because it's all about legal procedures. But did you do anything wrong?
Well, I won't address that just for the legal reason.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of under a prohibition to say anything about the case. So that's why it's not that I don't want to. I actually have a lot to say, but I think there will be a time for that. I will say that I think that, I do think that 2016, when it came out last year, rattled President Obama. And we know this because Obama came out with a kind of diatribe against the film on his own personal website, barackobama.com. And I wrote a response to that, which is out on the web. So I think that this is a case where I've been a public critic of the president. The film took that to a new level. And I was warned at the time, be careful, because there's a little bit of a target on your back when you go out there and make yourself vulnerable in that way.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, who was the warning from?
No, I just mean that.
In general? You mean in general?
Yeah, in general, people said, listen, you've been a writer and a speaker for 20 years, but that's the audience who buys books is a limited market. When you go out there and make a film that actually now has been seen by about 8 million people, you're in a very public way putting yourself on the front line. And I knew that. So I just think we're at a stage in this country where we need to stand up for the values that have built this country.
Well, I think that's probably the main thing most people who are reaching out to you love about you. I do want to play you a soundbite. This will be cut 60, gentlemen, from Gerald Mullen, who was gracious enough to join us last week, and I want you to listen to what he said about putting himself out there and about making the 2016.
Well, this is America. I've never had that feeling. I've never had the occasion to think that I had to fear my government. I've never had the thought that I had to have a reason to look over my shoulder until now.
Okay. Do you believe that that you were targeted? I'm not asking you to comment on guilt, innocence, but do you believe that you became a target, that the warnings you got, maybe in passing, casually, from generalized type people, do you believe that there was a political motive behind them going after you?
Well, let's just say this. Jerry Molen is a guy who started out actually as a truck driver on Hollywood sets. He rose through the ranks and became a producer of a lot of amazing movies, from Minority Report to Rain Man, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List. Now, right after he associates himself with 2016 and is publicly identified that way, he gets a call from the IRS. So part of that IRS Tea Party business also included Jerry Molen. This was in the late 2012. So my point is, is it an accident that Molen was scrutinized in that way by the IRS? And now my situation, I guess that remains to be seen. But there's no question that both of us are public critics of the president.
Okay, but I was unaware that he did not indicate that he had gotten the call from the IRS during our interview. Is that something that's kind of common knowledge out there?
Yeah, it's been in the press, and Molen's very modest about it. He was basically able to, answer their questions and sort of satisfy them. But it is odd when they're casting. They're supposedly, the idea is that the IRS and so on should be doing random audits, and random checks, and not simply singling people out. And that's really the issue: is whether or not the Obama administration is using the power of the state, which is not supposed to be used for these, for the purpose of singling or targeting individuals. And is that really going on? That's the issue I think that people are wondering about.
All right. I don't know if you watched the president with the IRS question on the Super Bowl when he was asked about this by Bill O'Reilly. I want you to let me cut 14, Will. I want you to listen to cut 14, and then we'll also do cut 15. Here it is.
Did you speak to him a lot yourself?
I do not recall meeting with him in any of these meetings that are pretty routine meetings.
Okay, so you don't recall seeing Shulman, because what some people are saying is that the IRS was used at a local level in Cincinnati, maybe other places, to go after.
Absolutely wrong.
But how do you know that? Because we still don't know what happened there.
Bill, we do. That's not what happened. Folks have, again, had multiple hearings on this. I mean, these kinds of things keep on surfacing, in part because you and your TV station will promote them.
And then he went on to say this. Here's cut 15.
What happened here is that you've got a 501c4 law that people think is confusing. That the folks did not know how to implement. Okay. Because it basically says,
so you're saying if you're involved, no corruption there at all? No.
That's not what I'm saying. That's actually...
No, but I want to know what you're saying. You're the leader of the country. You're saying no corruption?
No. None? No. There were some boneheaded decisions out of a
but
local
no
office.
Mass corruption?
Not even mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, I do think that I don't know enough about the IRS case to comment on that. All I know is that there seems to have been a pattern of various groups critical of the president all getting inquiries and being subjected to a standard of scrutiny and review that did not seem typical. And the question you have to ask here is simply this. The federal government has a great deal of power. And now with the NSA, with surveillance, with government, in a sense, having access to your apps and your emails and your contact lists and so on, I think the founders would have been a little terrified about what this kind of power does to people, not just people at Obama's level, but all through the government. Once you give the government this kind of power, what's going to happen? How is that power going to be used? Because the government gets to decide, we're going to check these guys out, but we're not going to ask the same question of those guys. So they're not casting, if you will, a random or even net. That's really the issue in the IRS case. There's no doubt that there are 501c3 laws. The question is, are those laws being used against groups that support Obama? Are they asking them for membership lists? Are they actually scrutinizing them in that way? Are they making their donors on notice that their names might be exposed, or they might be made vulnerable in some way? They might be subjected to an audit. So that's really the issue here, is the even-handedness of justice. And I think we're seeing that surface in a number of contexts, most recently with the Hollywood group. I mean, here you have a group of guys who are conservatives.
You're talking about Friends of Abe.
Friends of Abe.
Yeah.
These are guys who naturally are a little bit anxious about their careers, and they should be able to meet, and they should be able to have a group. So the question becomes, is the group being burdened in such a way that by saying, okay, listen, you've got to make all your names public, it becomes more difficult to have such a group at all?
Yeah, no, we're talking to Dinesh D'Souza here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You've indicated you won't be stopped. You've indicated that the movie America is coming out on July 4th. Gerald Mullen has said the same thing. So what has this done to you? You got the warnings, you say, casually from others before the 2016 Obama's America. So what do you take away now? How do you proceed with your life, your writings, your filmmaking, your documentary making, and your criticism of an administration now?
I proceed absolutely the same as before. In other words, I defend myself, obviously, vigorously in the upcoming trial. I make sure I've got good representation and make a good case. And at the same time, I proceed with my work full speed ahead. So we've just been filming a bunch of recreations of key episodes in American history in Oklahoma City. We just completed that. I'm now working on the voiceover for the film. The production quality of the new movie America is going to be much higher than 2016. And so I'm really excited to be able to, use my experience on that first film to really up the ante and raise it to a different level. So we've got something very special for the country that's due the middle of this year.
Do you think that the publicity surrounding this case will propel, in an odd way, America to heights that maybe you wouldn't have expected before this case?
Gee, I don't know, and certainly if that does happen, we'll all have to send our thank you notes to Obama. We are trying with this film to challenge, we're the second most successful documentary of all time. We've got Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 11 ahead of us. And so we're going to, try to give Michael Moore a run for his money with the new film and really try to knock him off this pedestal, so to speak. We're certainly going to make a better film. We're going to do our best to promote it. And if the Obama administration wants to help us, then that's their prerogative.
And one final question for you: what do you see ahead in 2016 as far as a presidential race? And could we be looking at another documentary prior to the presidential race, either on one of the candidates or on Hillary or something along those lines?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, certainly it looks to me like the baton may pass from Obama to Hillary. I'm not an expert on that. I do think 2016 will be a critical year. I mean, Obama has, in a sense, he talked at his inauguration about remaking America. That was his phrase, remaking America. Well, America is a big country. It's not so easy to remake it in just 8 years. Now, certainly if you have 16 years, then you've got a much longer time to be able to produce the kind of fundamental change that I believe Obama is after.
Right.
So I do think the 2016 election is very critical.
All right. Dinesh, thank you. I hope you'll come back, sir. And is there a website people could help your defense fund out in, or?
Yeah, I don't yet have a defense fund of any kind, but on my website, which is just DineshD'Souza.com, just DineshD'Souza.com, you can actually watch a recent debate I did with the
Bill Ayers. Yeah, I saw that was a great debate. Yep, great debate. All right, Dinesh, thank you, sir. Good luck.
It's a pleasure.
Take care. Dinesh D'Souza, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, when we come back, Noah Rothman will join us from Mediaite.com. We'll talk about the O'Reilly-Obama interview, and we'll touch on Dinesh's situation here. All that straight ahead, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg